Good morning, good morning, good morning. Let me straighten you up. Now you're looking sharp. Jazz hands. Anyway, good morning. I am excited about my new brand. I am excited about my new brand. Do you like it? I slaved over this thing. I talked about it in another video. I love it. I love it. It's so simple and it gets to the point. How to think over or evaluate. I'm just saying. We really do have a lot to talk about, a lot to explore, and I wanted to leave room for that. I did not want to abandon any of my playlists because I think individually they have value and then collectively they pack a punch. I just need to get the videos rolled out and talk to you guys more about how things are put together in my world, what works, what doesn't, what translates, what doesn't, when it's time to unpack a new skill, unpack an old skill or find out the current iteration of that technology. I know for sure that these are values that we all have because we're living in a digital world. It's not going away. So I can't separate my technology enthusiasm from my daily life and the projects that I'm working on and the goals that I've set, the objectives that need to be met. And the workflow is important. So I hope you tune in and just follow. Please like and subscribe as you go. And that's the last time I'm going to say it later. But anyway, like and subscribe. Thank you. Get ready. We're jumping right into this thing. I'm sick of Helen Andelin at the moment, and I'm going to tell you why. Keep watching. I want to talk about why I could not get with the program last week and agree with this woman about the apology. So we're going to talk about this apology bit. It got really real for me last week. It was entertainment for a little while, but now you're asking me to what? What? And I'm going to warn you, you're going to hear some brush clearing in my neighborhood, so please ignore it. I can't control it. It's just part of life. So I wanted to start off with fascinating womanhood again this morning, but we're going to take it in a different direction today. What I want you to consider is what we've been talking about so far. We've talked ad nauseum really about the woman, her angelic qualities, her human qualities, being the perfect, or at least as close to perfect as possible, partner in life. And last week I got a little bit impatient with the apology, I have to be honest. And that's why we're not going to really focus on the book today. And I'm not reading passages and that kind of thing. I just wanted to share a few thoughts with you about it. I tried to not be negative, and I tried to answer the question that we set out to answer in the first place, which is, are there any redeeming values to the advice that Helen Andelin is giving in this book for the 21st century woman? And I thought for a while, I reflected on having read the book previously, and I don't remember having such intense feelings about it because I was reading it for a character in the novel and not for myself. So this time it's more of a personal journey, and the introspection, you only can think back to or reflect upon or refer to the relationships you're in or the ones that you've had previously. And that's fair. That's natural. Reading it from a personal perspective and trying to get into a better mood You know, get on board with what she's trying to promote. If I have to name 5 perspectives that I gained from this last, the first 3 episodes of the review, I would have to say that the first one is, it does help you appreciate your partner. Positive or negative, you have to appreciate who this person is. And to write down this person's faults was helpful because it helped expose really and allow you the opportunity for introspection. What role do you play in the way he is, or what's wrong with him? And then you have an opportunity to address whether or not an apology is owed or due. And I don't know that every situation, as I said before, I'm still trying to understand how you're in a relationship, but you have to be awakened. Why aren't you awake when you make the commitment? That's the question on the table. Finally, the positive, there is an opportunity to assess the values in the relationship. It gives the relationship a litmus test, in my mind. Should you be in the relationship? What redeeming values are there in the relationship? What are you getting for your investment? Emotional, financial, practical. What are you getting out of the relationship? What return on investment are you getting? Because in truth, if we were talking about Wall Street, we would not make an investment and not see a return on it. We would pull out our investment and deposit elsewhere. And then there are some things that I want to discuss a little deeper. So stay with me and we're going to unpack it now. My thoughts at this time about this apology that Helen Andelin suggests a woman make to her partner, about whether or not she has been attentive or appreciative. And what came to mind for me is a sermon I heard, and I'll tell you later who it was because I don't want to distract you with the source, but truth is truth and right is right. And I want us to focus on the truth. And then if you have an issue about mega churches and so on, which I have a few, then I have some concerns there, if I'm honest. I want us to talk about the content of that sermon, and the title of it was Real Men Pour In. And it's a Father's Day sermon, and I'll put a link, in fact, with a timestamp on it so that you can see the demonstration and the illustration that the minister provided. And he's talking about the value and the necessity of a man pouring into a woman. Not only physiologically, because anatomically that's the way it works if we're going to be fruitful and multiply, but also to pour into her emotionally, to pour into her spiritually. And that's one thing that I've felt is missing here in this book is the man's responsibility. That to me is everyone's responsibility in the marriage or in the relationship, in the partnership. It's not something that is more for one person to manage and provide than the other. I think it has to be both. In the sermon, there's a warning issued not to pour too much into a man. And oddly enough, the book comes back to me again. Why? Because at one point, Helen Andelin is saying something similar. And there's a reference, an analogy that she uses, that a woman should be careful helping a man too much or coddling him too much, because the more she attempts to help lift the pail, the more he sets it down. And this, to me, again, this awakening that she's talking about, when does he not feel he's awake? Why is he sleeping? Why is your partner sleeping? He, she, doesn't matter. Why is your partner asleep? Is it that they were never awake walking into this relationship? Is it that they come from another place, another time, another space, another culture? But if we are going to keep hiding behind this notion that the woman has to spearhead everything and then turn over all the control to her partner, then I think there's a bit of imbalance, and it's not fair. Saying that's the way it is fine, but now here we come to the part about finances, right? And a man is very quick to talk about the burden, but he's very slow to talk about the value of your presence as part of the burden and the part of the burden you're carrying. So if we are not going to be honest about that, I think we have run into something of a brick wall in terms of relationship development, because someone's getting left behind. That's just the way I see it, right? If you are a man or a partner and you are contributing emotionally, then she is going to understand that you have a stake in this. You feel, you're empathetic. You feel as she feels. What hurts her hurts you. And then spiritually, we're talking about leadership now. Where is the spiritual leadership in the household? What is that value? What is he bringing to the table? Because if she is to increase the spiritual, the physical, the financial, she needs to know what she's getting out of it. She needs to see that she is reaping a benefit and not just contributing. Now, as for the minister, this is T.D. Jakes' sermon, and the sermon title is Real Men Pour In. And in this sermon, he gives a demonstration using an empty glass of water and an empty pitcher. And he, in the middle of the sermon, breaks away and says, oh, let me get a glass of water. Let me take a little drink of water. And the point he's making by turning up this empty glass and getting nothing is, as he said, I'm not getting anything poured into me because nothing was poured into it. And the pitcher that should have been poured into is empty as well. So now the whole system breaks down because there has to be something in the pitcher to pour into the glass, to pour into the man. Well, that's true in the relationship as well, right? There has to be something in the marriage to pour into the man, to pour into the woman in order for her to sustain him in a relationship. So I hope that clarifies some of my thoughts. I'm very concerned that as we continue on our journey, that we are not lost in the sauce and trying to bend too much. I think the whole idea of not coddling a man, if you go back to that example with the bucket, how much bending are we doing? How much bending should we be doing? And when do we say we've bent far enough, or we've lifted enough, or we've contributed enough? He goes on to talk about the role of a woman and her anatomical, financial, and spiritual role in increasing what a man gives to her. But in the first case, he has to make that pour in. He has to deposit something into her. I got a phone call, as an example, just yesterday, and I hope the person who called is watching this video. It was very important that I heard from this person. He's a friend, a very dear friend from, that was in the 1900s, 1990, 1993, somewhere in that time period. And he and I have been like brother and sister straight through. And he's one of those people who don't call all the time, but he called yesterday. And for as far as I know, no particular reason, he had been reaching out to me, and we finally talked. And he spent just 5 minutes, maybe 6, 7, I don't know. But he complimented me immeasurably about my effort, about my tenacity, about my beauty as a person inside, not outside. He's not that kind of person. And he talked, not that he doesn't think so. But anyway, I think he really understands that to be a friend, you have to pour in. To be a husband and father, which he is, you have to pour in. It doesn't take care of itself. And it's not her job to fix it. It's not her job to fix you. It is not her job to somehow make it all better and complete you. You're supposed to be complete when you come into this relationship. Why come into the relationship needy and then discover that the partner, your wife, your friend has no 50% of their time and effort to pour into you when you're still thirsty all the time and you're dry all the time and you have to be awakened. This is where I've really lost patience with the book, because in my experience, you cannot change people. They change themselves. And that is a point that Helen Andelin made in the book from the beginning. Remember, we talked about that in episode 1, I believe. You can't change him. So inspiring him to change, if it involves anything that makes a person feel they have overcompromised, and you know it in your spirit, I think. You do it anyway, but you keep telling yourself, you know, like the gambler at the casino, just one more time. It'll work this time. This'll do it. And then it doesn't do it, and we just keep gambling with time, with effort, with finance, with love, with spiritual value, being that partner we want. And I think women are certainly more, they avail themselves far more than men to the relationship they want, as opposed to the relationship that they can get away with. So that's all I had to talk about with the book. I really, really wanted to stay away from reading today. There are so many lessons in this book. But as far as the exercise is concerned, the next one I came upon is requesting that we write a list of the things we love about our partner. And to list that, there should be a list of 25, okay? So if you can make that list, I'll see you on Tuesday of next week at 6 a.m. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. Please like this video. Please hit the subscribe bell if you haven't already. And I'll see you next week. Have a great day. Bye-bye.